Hello, and welcome to another edition of All Around Town. My name is Roger Wilson, and I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy. Today's guest is the Mayor of Mount Airy, Pat Rockenberg. Pat, it's so good to see you on the set again, and I understand the great things are going on in Mount Airy.
Well, Roger, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. It's a pleasure to be in Frederick County, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, so what's going on in Mount Airy now?
Wow, we just released a new vision plan for our downtown. We have an election going on. Okay. We have things coming up for the spring, festivals, activities. We're a busy, I don't want to say small town, because we're about a medium-sized town in Frederick and Carroll County, so we have a lot going on. You
mentioned the upcoming elections. Those elections are staggered, correct?
They are every 2 years, so in this particular cycle we are going to elect 3 new council members, and that's 3 out of 5, so it really changes the whole makeup of our town council, which is our legislative arm. In 2 more years it'll be the mayoral election, where you have the mayor and 2 council members.
Okay, very good. And what term are you in?
I'm actually in my 3rd term.
3rd term?
Yes, sir.
Wow, congrats.
Or as I like to say, 2 Roger Wilson TV shows ago.
Okay, good. That's a good way of putting it.
Well.
All right, good. So, jobs, economic activity going on in Mount Airy?
Well, as far as jobs, we have a lot of opportunities for our youth and for some others, but as you know, Mount Airy is a bedroom community. We're fortunate enough to be surrounded by several larger metropolitan hubs where we do have Fortune 500 companies and a lot of employment opportunities. But as a bedroom community, we'd like to shuttle out and come back and enjoy our small town atmosphere.
Good. And just for the viewing audience, where is Mount Airy located?
What I tell people is, if you look on a map and if you see Baltimore and you see Frederick, we're right in the middle.
Okay, good. And now there are a lot of other Mount Airys out there.
There are.
Other than the state of Maryland. Where?
It's kind of cool because there's a Mount Airy, New York.
Right.
More notably, there's a Mount Airy, North Carolina, where Andy Griffith is from.
Oh, sure. And
it's very famous for that. They have about the same population that we have. And a funny story, there was one time I was getting ready for a parade in Mount Airy, and my parade vehicle wouldn't start, so I asked my daughter to call the fire department. When she saw the number, I said, call the Mount Airy Fire Department. So she gets on there, and the fire department had no idea what she was talking about, a parade. I'm like, wait a minute, it's a fireman's parade. I said, give me the phone. Well, the gentleman had a southern accent. I asked him, I said, is this Mount Airy, North Carolina? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, I gave the phone back to Sarah. I said, how about calling our Mount Airy? So there are other Mount Airys, and it can be confusing, especially when you hit Google. Put in Mount Airy, Maryland.
Got it. Okay, good. Well, I'm sure that mistake won't be made again. But
no. Well, hopefully the truck will start next time.
That's good. That's good. So what's the population of Mount Airy?
Approximately 10,000.
10,000.
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen a lot of growth over the years?
Well, the economy has slowed the growth down, and the people that live there have actually feel that the town is pretty much maxed out. We do hope to see some more growth downtown, maybe some mixed-use zoning downtown where we're going to blend commercial and residential. Sure. But to expand out and sprawl more, I don't think the Mount Airy citizens are looking for that. So we're pretty much capped out, again, with some redevelopment downtown and some infill lots that still need to be filled.
Oh, that's great. That's great news. Now, I understand you guys have looked at your comprehensive planning, and what does that look like? What does Mount Airy look like in 10, 20 years from now?
Good question. We wrapped up it's actually our 2010 comprehensive plan. We wrapped it up in 2013. Okay. Most people do, they run a little bit behind, and we're gearing up for another master plan in a few years. Prior to that master plan, we're going to do another town survey. And it's our plan to do a town survey to really hear from the people before we go into the master planning process, because issues have changed over our last survey was in 2006. Well, all the issues have changed. So we're going to do another town survey, then we'll roll into a new master plan. But in our master plan, you've seen that the properties on our borders have all remained conservation or been changed to conservation to give us some green space around us. Mm-hmm. But from what we've been hearing from people, they do want to see some redevelopment downtown. So we've changed some of our zoning downtown to allow for a little bit more intense development in the historic downtown area. Mm-hmm. And the future of Mount Airy would be hopefully Center Street going through, okay, some redesign of our main street to allow for a more pedestrian-friendly environment.
Okay. All right, good. Now, you all just opened up a museum?
We did. Well, the museum was open, but it was in our Flatiron building which has been a topic of discussion for some time. It's very hard to get to the Flatiron building. It's built on a V. The sidewalks are about 1.5 feet, pretty dangerous. And so the museum got limited exposure, so it really wasn't safe to get over there. Well, we recently purchased our rail yard building. It's a Baldwin design station, and in it we were able to remodel it and bring all of our artifacts and the rich history of Mount Airy into our museum. So it's perfect. It's right along our rail line. It complements the caboose that was completed a few years ago. So we're very excited to have our historic artifacts displayed in such an accessible place. And plus it allows us the opportunity to have events around the train station. It has a deck where we can have a stage, and it's the center of all of our downtown events where we close the streets. And I think that's what people love most about our small town is our downtown events.
You know, I really love your Rails to Trails project. Could you elaborate on that?
I'd love to. I'd love to. First, I'd like to give a shout out to Councilman Larry Hushauer, who was really the lead engineer on that project. He got together many volunteers, and a lot of great people worked on that. A lot of town people worked on that. We've received grants to see that through. And not only is that a linear park, which connects our Main Street to Watkins Park, people don't realize, in addition to being a beautiful linear park, it actually gives us parking at Watkins Park. It connects our largest park to our downtown Main Street. So when we have events, people can now park at Watkins Park, walk down this beautiful trail to our downtown. And it's excellent. I actually run a running group, and we run down this path to our park, in our park, and back downtown. So it's amazing rails trails, and we're looking to expand further into Frederick, so that hopefully that opportunity will keep going, and we'll be able to expand our rails to trails.
I always think it's interesting when you go to Mount Airy, you all are connected to multiple jurisdictions. Okay, can you talk about that geographic challenge? And
there are some geographical challenges. It actually turned out to be a positive. At one point, we did have a 4-county college in Mount Airy, a teaching college. In fact, my daughter, who was going to Carroll County Community College at that time, did not have to drive to Westminster. She could go right to Mount Airy and take some of her math classes. But generally, it is a challenge because we have to deal with 2 different boards of county commissioners, 2 different school boards. There's issues where other municipalities only have 1 board to deal with. We have 2. So the greater Mount Airy is located in 4 counties. So we're called the heart of the 4-county community.
Wow.
Okay, but the incorporated part of Mount Airy is actually in Frederick and Carroll County. And I think with the exception of maybe Del Mar and Tacoma Park, we are the only town with that distinction.
Very good.
In that challenge.
Okay. Now, when it comes to, you just kind of raised your new police department there.
Yes.
So how do they deal with the multiple jurisdiction issues there?
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we actually went with our own police department, because there were several options. One of them was let Carroll County patrol their half, let Frederick County patrol their half. But there were issues as far as mutual aid agreements and just working together between the 2 departments. It just didn't seem like it was going to work well. So we decided for the option to break away from the contract state police force that did a great job for us. But
the residential
trooper program, but I think Walkersville is the only town that still has that. But the cost was getting quite expensive due to retirement funding and whatnot. So we opted to go with our own police force, and it gave us the opportunity to get our police force to the number where it should be, which is 1 per 1,000 people. So we now have, we have 9 on the ground now. We're looking to hire a 10th officer. But it allowed us to have community policing, because frequently with the state trooper program, troopers would come in and they'd be there a year or 2 and they'd move on. They wouldn't really know our citizens, the trouble spots, or perhaps in some cases the particulars of our laws. But now with our own police program, we have Shop with the Cop programs. The police officers are out there in the community handing out candy on Halloween. People know them by name. They know our communities. They know the good guys. They know the bad guys. And it's the community policing that the citizens really want and that we are really benefiting from right now.
I'm glad that's working out.
It's fantastic.
I'm sure there was a lot of questions. Would that work and be successful? But it sounds
that
like
was a tough one.
Yes.
That was a tough one. But finally, we were just at a point. We studied it for many years. In fact, we studied it years ago, and the state police program was approaching close to $1 million. Policing is our largest expense at about $1.5 million, but we were going to pay approximately, we were looking at $1 million in the near future for just 5 officers. Now we're going to get 10 for somewhat more, but it's if you do it per officer, it's cheaper.
Very good. So now you mentioned, you alluded to your budget. So
Yes.
I'm sure you're in your budget cycle now. How's that coming along?
Well, budgets are always a challenge for all municipalities. Fortunately, with Mount Airy, we've always been fiscally sound. And we're very fortunate in that regard. Our property values have remained high. Our tax rates have not went up in probably the last 20 years. Oh, okay. We've been very fortunate because our property values are so high. We actually lowered our tax rate last year. But with property values going up, you net a little bit more. It looks like an increase, but it's really not. We're keeping our tax rates down. We're keeping our tax rate the same this year. And by law, we have to present a balanced budget. I just presented that to town council. So they're reading it, and we'll have our first public meeting in about a week. But there's always challenges with the budget. We have these unfunded state mandates for stormwater management. Sure. That's difficult. That is getting us, there's a $1 million project we just completed, and there'll be another $1 million project for stormwater management. These are huge hits to small municipalities. Yes. Fortunately, Mount Airy is going to be able to absorb it. Your smaller cities like maybe Newmarket or even Berlin are looking at substantial tax increases. Mount Airy is not. We're very conservative, but we've been able to add amenities without increasing our taxes. We're very proud of that, and we're going to continue to do so. Very good.
So on a lighter note, any upcoming activities in the community that's for the spring and summer? Yeah. Okay.
We have some fun events. We have a chili cook-off, which is going to be combined with a car show this year. We have our Oktoberfest. We had our first one last year, so a big shout out to Pam Reed for orchestrating that and seeing it through, and some other people. We always have our spring flings and events, downtown events like that, your normal events. So there's a lot happening downtown.
Well, I've heard a lot about the chili cook-off. Okay. Now, do you make your own chili?
Well, I make my own, but if you do competition chili, you're not allowed to use beans, so I don't compete on the street. I prefer to be a judge and to eat the chili. So I'm a judge every year, so I'll let the other guys do the cooking.
You sound like my kind of guy.
Yeah, I just eat, but it's great. It's really, we close down the streets, people have a great time, and it's just what's best about a small town, and the citizens love it.
Yes. And what kind of turnout do you get on that event?
Gosh, I couldn't give you exact numbers, but the streets are packed. I mean, we really pack the town. People talk about it. They look forward to it. It's a highly anticipated event. And this year, we're actually combining a car show. So what could be better? Yeah. You know, hot rods and chili. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're going to get most of your Frederick people down there.
Hot rods and chili.
That's right.
I think that's something that all the viewers would be interested in attending. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I do encourage people, while you can give all the particulars, to go to the Town of Mount Airy website or our Facebook page, where all our events are listed. And please come on down and visit us. We have a lot to offer.
So quickly, what is your normal meeting dates, town hall meeting dates?
Thank you very much. It's the first, and you're there at quite a few of them, so thank you for showing up and all the work you do in Frederick County. But it's the first Monday of every month at 7:30. Okay. So we encourage the citizens to come by. I also host an informal coffee with the mayor approximately once or twice on a Saturday, where it's less formal. You don't have to go to a formal meeting. We have to stand at the podium, give your name. You can come down, have a cup of coffee, meet, and tell me what's on your mind.
Very good.
Citizens are always invited to that.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming in today to talk about Mount Airy and tell us a little bit about what's going on in Mount Airy. And thank you again for all the work you do and your leadership in the area. And we look forward to bringing you back on.
Could I give a shout out?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there was a couple kids in my neighborhood, and their mother told them that she knew the mayor, and they said, no, you do not. So I said that I would say their names. So Declan, McKenna, Grayson, Caden, and Jason Obremski. Your moms were not lying to you. They do know the mayor, and
goodness.
I just want to say hello.
That's good.
Roger, thanks again for having us, and thanks for all you and the county executive, Jan Gardner, are doing for the town and for Frederick. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this episode of All Around Town. I look forward to seeing you all around town.